You've probably heard people talk about using your arm and wrist when you're playing the piano, not just your fingers. This is really important to do. It helps to flow, it helps to play faster and evenly and more beautifully too. However, it is difficult, it's nuanced, and it's kind of awkward when you're starting out. It even seems unnecessary. My student was complaining to me when I told him you need to use your arm, and he said, well, that's just for showmanship or whatever. But it's not, it's for the sound. It makes a beautiful sound. However, it is a difficult thing to get started on, and a lot of the motions are pretty nuanced. So I want to break it down to just one principle today that will help you get started in moving your arm. And all this comes down to is being balanced and centered. Let me demonstrate this idea of balance and centeredness with Debussy's Arabesque, the first one. I'm going to play a little bit. It goes like this. And I want you to watch as I'm playing upwards, my hand is going to move, and it's going to keep almost like there's a point of balance that stays along with the line and goes over the notes that are playing. And I'm going to continue to keep the balance of my hand over the keys as I'm playing. So I want you to watch for that as I play this passage and see how things kind of flow nice and evenly and smoothly. Now I'm going to give you a chord demo of the same piece where I'm not going to move my arms or wrist at all, just my fingers, and you'll get a sense for how it's harder to flow. It doesn't go as smoothly. It's actually hard for me not to move my wrist at least even a little, like even slightly, to help it out. A lot of people just tend to play really note by note instead of taking into consideration that you need to use your wrist and arms together with your fingers. So now let's talk about how we do this in our own playing. We're going to talk first about making sure your whole body overall is in good balance and good centered. And then we'll talk very specifically about your hand and fingers and capturing each note as it goes by. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is make sure that your body overall is well balanced. So you want to sit a little bit forward on the front. Most of your weight is leaning onto your butt, but you want a little bit in your toes. So you kind of lean forward a little bit. And then you want to keep your legs nice and good position so they're not close together, but they're not like sloppy. They need to be straight and forward. When you're going to play high, you're going to want to shift your body to the right and lean into your right knee, and the same thing when you're low. And then you have to consider where your hands are generally. So if they're both high, that's one thing, but if my right hand is high and my left hand is kind of in the middle, it's a little bit different. So when that happens, at any given point, you want to be finding the equilibrium between this point and then yourself overall. So for example, if I'm playing here, I'm going to lean a little bit to the right. I'm not going to be directly between my two hands because actually that's too far to the right. My body is a lot heavier than my hands, so just a little bit. And here is here, and that's just fine. And you just generally want to be aware of any tension. So like when you feel your muscle is tight, it's probably you need to relax and breathe a little bit. The next part is with your two hands in general, how to balance your hand and your fingers specifically, not just your body, but your hand and fingers. The general principle here is that your center of mass for your hand overall should be squarely over the key that you're going to play. So for example, when I play my thumb, I'm going to shift the weight a little bit to the left so that I feel like my thumb here can support the weight of my whole arm. And same thing with my pinky. I'll shift a little bit to the right. When I play with my middle finger, it's fine just like this because it's right in the middle. There's like a direct line here. Now, when I'm playing multiple notes like a line, let's say I just play my 5-finger scale, you want to think about that center of gravity is traveling along the line of the music like this. So it's going to the right and then to the left. So that at any point, if I were to freeze, I would be perfectly balanced over that finger. So you don't want your wrist to be in a locked position, right? Like this. When I do this, I find that my pinky has to do a lot more work than my middle finger does. But when I shift my wrist, it's much easier. When you're playing chords, it's also especially important to think about the overall balance. So this chord is pretty easy because everything is equally spaced out, but if I play another chord, maybe this chord, or this chord, or this chord, any chord that you're going to play, you're thinking about multiple different points of contact, and where's that balance between all of them. So you want to, when you play a chord, you want to listen to your fingers. Is any finger particularly like tense or doing too much work? And then you can find the balance between them by shifting maybe a little bit to the left, or maybe a little bit to the right, or maybe moving forward or backwards. Essentially, it should feel pretty comfortable, and each finger should feel as though it's exerting the same amount of effort. So now I want to show you how this looks like with Debussy's Arabesque. So the piece goes like this. Now you can see the way my hand moves along with the line, the flow of the line. If I'm not paying attention to it, it might look or sound more like this. Obviously I have to move, but I'm not moving as smoothly and as carefully, and you can probably hear how it doesn't quite sing as musically as before, and some of the spots are not very consistent with the rhythm. So here are some strategies that you can take with your pieces that's going to help you to find balance in what you need to play. So I'm going to keep using this piece for an example, but if I were to stop on any note, I should be able to glue my finger to that key, and I should still be able to move my arm kind of in any way while still being pretty well relaxed. So you can just pause and check, how comfortable am I moving around? Especially when it comes to your 4th and your 5th fingers, because these are difficult fingers, kind of uncomfortable. The next thing that you can do is you can play each note multiple times before you go on to the next one to give your body a chance to really sink and settle into that position. Bounce with a loose wrist. And then go down to 3 notes like this. And you can pause at any finger that feels slightly more uncomfortable than the other ones. Even that first one might be one that I really want to lock in. So you can find the ones that are not working out so well. Once you do 4 notes at a time, then 3 notes, and you just keep working your way down. And then 1 note. As always, you want to listen to your body as you're playing and just find where you might be tense or tight in your fingers. That's a good indication that something's not aligned right. And you can also just stretch before or during your playing or afterwards. Stretch out your hands, your arms, your back. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. We covered how to find your balance and how to make sure that you're squarely over the key that you're playing. This really is related in a lot of ways to the wrist motion that you need to do. We have other videos that cover that. So the point of all of this is that if you want to keep your balance and center as you're playing, you're going to have to move your arms along with your fingers. You want to make sure that your whole body is balanced overall, and you want to make sure that your hands, specifically in your fingers, are balanced as well. So that's it for today. Please let us know if you have any questions, and as always, happy practicing.